The Council insulted humanity, then Earth set them ablaze, reaches its climax as Ambassador Elena deploys humanity's secret weapon, a gravity disruptor that bends energy beams away from Earth ships. The ultimate gambit follows. An artificial singularity traps the mighty Council fleet, forcing the arrogant aliens to recognize humanity not as children to be supervised, but as equals to be respected. The Pax Nova glided silently through the darkness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight as it approached the massive structure of Ventar Prime. Inside the command bridge, Ambassador Elena Cho stood, with her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes fixed on the growing spectacle before them. The space station loomed like a crystalline snowflake, intricate and beautiful, its facets catching the light of the nearby star and sending prismatic patterns dancing across the viewing deck. "It's magnificent," Elena whispered, almost to herself. She had spent years preparing for this moment, the culmination of humanity's greatest achievement and the beginning of a new chapter in Earth's history. "Magnificent, but intimidating," remarked Major Marcus Yeo, who stood at military attention beside her. His uniform was impeccable, the insignia of Earth's United Defense Force gleaming under the ship's lights. "Remember, Ambassador, our intelligence on the Council species remains limited. We should be prepared for anything." Dr. Amina Patel approached from the science station, her tablet displaying a cascade of data readings. "The spacefold drive is stable. I've never seen such clean metrics after a jump of this magnitude." She smiled, though tension lingered around her eyes. Earth's technology has finally caught up with the galactic standard, at least in this respect. Elena nodded, her expression serene despite the nervous flutter in her stomach. At 48, she had spent her entire career in diplomatic service, but nothing could have prepared her for representing humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council. The responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders. "Final approach protocols initiated," announced the ship's AI, docking sequence commencing in 5 minutes. Elena smoothed the front of her formal attire, a midnight blue suit designed to convey authority while honoring Earth's unified government. "Dr. Patel, Major Yeo, you both understand the significance of today. Humanity has waited a century since the first contact signals to reach this moment. Our mission is simple: establish friendly relations, demonstrate our technological and cultural worth, and secure a council membership." Major Yeo's expression remained stoic. "And if they're not impressed?" Elena offered a diplomatic smile. "Then we impress them. Earth has united under the Global Peace Initiative. We've eliminated poverty, stabilized our climate, and developed spacefold technology independently. If that doesn't earn their respect, I'm prepared to negotiate whatever terms necessary for our membership." Dr. Patel's attention had returned to her readings. "Ambassador, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the station. Nothing concerning, just different from what we expected based on our long-range scans." "Different how?" "More complex. Their quantum network appears to be operating on principles we haven't yet theorized." She looked up, her eyes bright with scientific curiosity. "Their technology is at least 3 centuries beyond ours." The ship shuddered slightly as the docking mechanisms engaged. Elena took a deep breath, centering herself. "Remember why we're here: peace, cooperation, a seat at the galactic table." She glanced at her companions. "For humanity's future." The airlock doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a narrow corridor bathed in bluish light. Elena had expected a welcoming committee, some formal recognition of Earth's arrival, but the passage stood empty. The 3 humans exchanged glances before Elena stepped forward, leading the way. "Strange," Major Yeo muttered, his hand instinctively moving toward the ceremonial sidearm he carried. "No reception party." They followed the corridor as it curved gently to the right. the walls pulsing with subtle bioluminescence. After several minutes of walking, they encountered a tall, slender being with translucent skin that revealed a complex circulatory system beneath. The alien regarded them with four multifaceted eyes that seemed to shimmer with their own inner light. Elena stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Greetings. I am Ambassador Elena Cho of Earth. We come in peace and friendship, seeking dialogue with the Galactic Council." The being made no attempt to return the gesture. Instead, it extended a seven-fingered hand and motioned for them to follow. Without a word, it turned and glided down another corridor. "Not exactly a warm welcome," Yo whispered. Elena maintained her diplomatic composure. "Different species, different protocols. Let's not judge too quickly." They were led through a labyrinth of passages until their guide stopped at a nondescript door. With a gesture, the being opened it and motioned for them to enter. Inside was a small, utilitarian room with no windows and only basic furnishings: 3 bench-like structures and a table that hovered slightly above the floor. "You will wait here," the being said, its voice a harmonious blend of tones that seemed to come from multiple sources within its body. "The council is occupied with priority matters." Before Elena could respond, the being had withdrawn, and the door sealed behind it. Major Yo immediately surveyed the room, checking for surveillance devices or potential security threats. "This feels more like a storage closet than a diplomatic reception area." Dr. Patel was already examining the composition of the walls with her handheld scanner. "The material is fascinating, some kind of programmable matter, but I agree with the Major. This is unexpected." Elena sat on one of the benches, which adjusted to accommodate her human physiology. "Let's not rush to judgment. Perhaps this is standard protocol for first-time visitors." Hours passed. The room's lighting adjusted automatically to what must have been the station's day-night cycle, but no food or water was offered, and no further communication came from their hosts. Elena maintained her calm, though her diplomatic training was being tested as never before. It was during the 6th hour of their wait that they heard it, a rhythmic, ceremonial drumming that echoed through the station structure. Major Yo, who had been pacing the room, stopped abruptly. "That sounds like a procession," he said, moving to the door. Finding no obvious control mechanism, he pressed his ear against the surface. "There's definitely some kind of ceremony happening." Dr. Patel joined him. "The vibrations are consistent with formal marching patterns, multiple species, based on the different cadences. Curiosity overcoming protocol." Elena approached the door. "Is there any way to see what's happening?" Major Yeo examined the door's edge and discovered a small imperfection, a seam that hadn't fully sealed. Carefully, he worked his fingers into the gap, creating a narrow viewing slit. What they saw struck them all silent. A grand procession moved through a massive central chamber. Delegates from what must have been dozens of species marched in formation, each group more exotic than the last. Some floated on anti-gravity platforms, others moved on multiple limbs, and still others seemed to phase in and out of visible reality. But what caught Elena's attention was the pathway they followed, a brilliant crimson carpet that stretched the length of the chamber. "A red carpet ceremony," she whispered. "They're welcoming someone with full honors." Major Yo's jaw tightened. "While we sit in a glorified closet?" As they watched, a new delegation approached, beings with bodies that appeared to be composed of interlocking crystal structures that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns. The assembled council members erupted in a symphony of sounds that their translators interpreted as applause and congratulations. "The crystal harmonics of Betelgeuse Prime," announced a resonant voice that seemed to come from the station itself. "We welcome our esteemed new members to the Grand Council. May your wisdom crystallize our shared future." Elena felt her diplomatic mask slip for the first time as a cold realization settled in her stomach. The council wasn't too busy for them. They simply didn't consider humanity important enough for a proper reception. While Earth's representatives waited in a storage room, another species was being celebrated and welcomed as new council members. "This is a deliberate insult," Major Yo said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "They're showing us our place in their hierarchy." Dr. Patel's scientific detachment wavered. "The technology gap might be greater than we thought. But this is about more than technology." Elena stepped back from the door, her mind racing through diplomatic scenarios and potential responses. Nothing in her training had prepared her for such a blatant dismissal of Earth's dignity. She thought of the billions of humans who had united behind this mission, the generations of scientists who had worked to develop the spacefold drive, the political leaders who had forged Earth's global peace. She straightened her shoulders, a new determination hardening in her eyes. "Major Yo, Dr. Patel, we're leaving." "Leaving?" Dr. Patel looked startled. "But we've barely arrived. We haven't even met with the council officially. And it's clear we won't be, not as equals." Elena's voice was calm but resolute. "I will not allow humanity to be treated this way. We came seeking friendship and cooperation. Instead, we've been shown contempt." Major Yo nodded in agreement. "What's the plan, Ambassador?" Elena looked once more through the crack in the door at the celebration beyond. "We return to Earth, and we prepare." "Prepare for what?" asked Dr. Patel. Elena's expression was simultaneously serene and steely. "To teach the Council that humanity is not to be underestimated. If they won't respect us as friends, they'll respect us as equals." The return journey to Earth was spent in intense planning. While Dr. Patel analyzed the data she had managed to collect during their brief stay, Elena and Major Yo strategized how to present their experience to Earth's leadership. Elena knew that their reception, or lack thereof, would be seen as more than a diplomatic slight. It was a fundamental challenge to humanity's place in the cosmos. When the Pax Nova finally reached Earth orbit, the Global Security Council had already been convened. Transmissions had been sent ahead, and the planet's unified leadership awaited their first-hand report with grave concern. The chamber of the Global Security Council was filled to capacity when Elena took the podium. Representatives from every nation-state of Earth's united governance sat in concentric rings, their faces reflecting the same mixture of anticipation and apprehension. President Lamai, who had championed the mission from its inception, sat at the center. Her expression remained neutral, but Elena could see the tension in her posture. "Ambassador Cho," President Lamai began, "the Council has reviewed your preliminary report. Before we continue, I must ask, are you certain there was no misunderstanding? Could cultural differences explain what you perceived as a slight?" Elena stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "Madam President, honored representatives, what we experienced was not a cultural misunderstanding. It was a calculated demonstration that humanity is considered insignificant by the Galactic Council. While we were relegated to a storage room without basic diplomatic courtesies, another species was welcomed with full ceremonial honors." She paused, letting her words sink in. The message was unmistakable. Earth is not worthy of respect. A murmur rippled through the assembly. President Lamai raised a hand for silence. "What do you recommend, Ambassador?" Elena took a deep breath. "We have three options. We can accept their assessment and approach the Council as supplicants, hoping for eventual recognition. We can withdraw from galactic affairs entirely and focus on our own development. Or we can demonstrate to the Council that humanity deserves to be treated as an equal." "And how do you suggest we do that?" asked the representative from the African Union, her voice skeptical. "If their technology is as advanced as Dr. Patel's data suggests, we cannot hope to match them militarily." "Not conventionally, no," Elena agreed. "But we have advantages they may not expect. Our independence, our resourcefulness, our unity in the face of challenges." She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with key representatives. Most importantly, we understand something they clearly do not. Respect must be mutual, or it is meaningless. President LeMay leaned forward. You're suggesting we challenge the Galactic Council, the very entity we sought to join? I'm suggesting we show them who we are. Elena replied. We are not children to be dismissed or patronized. We are humanity, the species that survived its own self-destructive tendencies, unified its planet, and developed spacefold technology independently. We deserve a place at the table, not in the closet. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the assembly. Then, slowly, President LeMay rose to her feet. We have spent generations preparing for this moment, she said, her voice quiet but intense. We have overcome war, climate catastrophe, and the threat of technological self-destruction. We have built a global society that values peace, progress, and human dignity. Her eyes met Elena's. We will not allow that dignity to be trampled. She turned to address the full council. I propose the formation of an emergency galactic peace alliance. Ambassador Cho will coordinate our diplomatic response. Major Yeo will oversee security and military preparedness. And Dr. Patel will lead a scientific initiative to ensure our technological readiness. One by one, the representatives stood in agreement. The vote was unanimous. As the session concluded, President LeMay approached Elena privately. You understand what we're risking? Elena nodded. Everything we've worked for, but also everything we stand for. Then, make sure we succeed. Ambassador. The president's expression was grave. Show the council that humanity's flame burns bright, and that those who dismiss us risk getting burned. The following months saw Earth transformed by a new sense of purpose. Under Major Yeo's direction, 50 ships were retrofitted with advanced defensive capabilities, forming the Spark counteroffensive tactical fleet. The vessels were smaller than traditional warships, but incorporated revolutionary stealth technology and were equipped with the latest iteration of the spacefold drive. Meanwhile, Dr. Patel assembled a team of the world's most brilliant scientists, including Danny Kim, a 16-year-old prodigy whose theoretical work on quantum entanglement had revolutionized communications. Together, they worked to decode the Galactic Council's technological systems based on the limited data they had gathered from Ventar Prime. The Council's quantum network operates on 17 simultaneous dimensions, Dr. Patel explained during one of the regular briefings. But there's a vulnerability in their temporal synchronization. Danny discovered it while analyzing the station's energy fluctuations. In plain language, Doctor, requested President LeMay. Danny stepped forward, his youth contrasting sharply with the gravity of the situation. They're so advanced they've gotten complacent. Their systems are elegant but predictable. We can use that against them. Elena, who had been coordinating these efforts while developing diplomatic contingency plans, felt a growing conflict within herself. The mission had begun with a vision of peaceful integration into the galactic community. Now, they were preparing for what could amount to war. During a rare moment of quiet, Major Yeo found her staring out at the construction of the fleet in Earth's orbit. Having second thoughts, Ambassador? He asked, standing beside her at the viewport. Wondering if we're betraying our own principles, she admitted. We united Earth under the banner of peace. Now we're building weapons. Major Yeo considered this. There's a difference between seeking conflict and being prepared to defend yourself. The Council made the first move by disrespecting us. We're responding by demanding the respect we deserve. And if that leads to bloodshed, then we'll have learned what the rest of the galaxy already knows, that peace requires strength to maintain it. He turned to face her directly. But I don't think it will come to that. The Council clearly values efficiency. Once they recognize we can't be easily dismissed, they'll recalculate. Elena nodded, though the conflict remained unresolved in her heart. I hope you're right, Major. For all our sakes. The first phase of Earth's response took the form of Operation Mercantile Sword. Using the stealth capabilities of their new vessels, a team of space commandos infiltrated a secondary council station in the Kepler sector. Their mission was not destruction, but information. Specifically, to obtain copies of the Council's gravitational weapons technology. Elena monitored the operation from Earth's unified command center, her stomach tight with anxiety as the team's leader, Commander Sofia Rivera, reported in. "We're inside." Rivera's voice came through, slightly distorted by the encryption. "Security systems bypassed. Proceeding to the central data core." Minutes stretched into hours as the team worked to extract the information without detection. Finally, Rivera's voice returned. "Package secured. No casualties. Commencing extraction." A collective sigh of relief went through the command center. The first test had been successful. Earth could operate within Council space without being immediately overwhelmed. The second phase was more overt. The Emergency Galactic Peace Alliance established a free trade outpost on the edge of Council space, deliberately undercutting the exorbitant fees the Council charged for interstellar commerce. The station, named Kepler Market, quickly became popular with smaller spacefaring species, who had long chafed under the Council's economic dominance. "We've broken their trade monopoly in 3 sectors," reported the Commerce Director during the weekly strategy session. "Species we've never encountered before are approaching us for partnerships. It seems we're not the only ones who find the Council's policies restrictive." Elena saw the opportunity immediately. "Open diplomatic channels with each species. Offer favorable terms. Build a coalition of the marginalized." President LeMay nodded in agreement. "The Council has ruled through economic leverage for too long. If we can provide an alternative, we gain allies without firing a shot." The Council's response came 6 weeks later, and it was exactly what Major Yo had predicted. 3 heavy-class battle fleets appeared at the edge of the Sol system, positioning themselves near Jupiter. Though they made no overtly aggressive moves, their message was clear. Earth was being watched, and the Council was not pleased. "They're conducting weapons drills," Major Yo reported grimly, showing footage of energy weapons being discharged into Jupiter's atmosphere, creating massive disturbances, visible even from Earth. "It's a show of force, a warning." President Lamay's expression hardened. "They threaten our home system and expect us to cower." "That's precisely what they expect," Elena said. "They're accustomed to species backing down when confronted with superior firepower. Then perhaps it's time to adjust their expectations." Dr. Patel entered the command center, Danny Kim at her side. Both looked exhausted but triumphant. "We've completed the gravity disruptor prototype. Based on the data from Operation Mercantile Sword, we've developed a countermeasure to their primary weapon systems." "Will it work?" asked President Lamai. Dr. Patel exchanged a glance with Danny. "In theory, yes. But we haven't tested it against actual Council technology." "Then it seems the Council has provided us with the perfect opportunity." Elena turned to Major Yo. "How quickly can we deploy the Spark Fleet?" "Within 12 hours, he replied. "But, Ambassador, this would be a direct confrontation. Are you certain that's the path we want to take?" Elena looked at the images of the Council fleet threatening her home planet. She thought of the storage room on Ventar Prime, of the celebration they had witnessed while being ignored. Her inner conflict resolved into clarity. "I'm certain of this. We will not allow them to intimidate us in our own home. Prepare the fleet." The decisive battle unfolded near Jupiter's orbit. The Spark Fleet, led by Elena aboard the flagship Phoenix, took position between Earth and the Council forces. Though outnumbered 3-1, the human vessels were equipped with Dr. Patel's gravity disruptor, a weapon that could theoretically neutralize the Council's primary advantage. "Council fleet is moving to intercept," reported the tactical officer. "Energy signatures indicate weapons charging." Elena stood on the bridge, flanked by Major Yo and Dr. Patel. who had insisted on being present to monitor their technology's performance. Her diplomatic attire had been replaced by a commander's uniform, a physical representation of humanity's transition from seeking peace to demanding respect. "Open a channel," she ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being similar to the one who had greeted them on Ventar Prime. Its translucent features shifted with what might have been surprise. "This is Ambassador Elena Cho of Earth, commanding the Emergency Galactic Peace Alliance fleet. Your presence in our system is an act of aggression. You will power down your weapons and withdraw immediately." The being's multifaceted eyes pulsed with inner light. "Your species is not recognized as having authority to make such demands. The Council has determined that humanity requires supervision during its developmental phase. Stand down and prepare to receive Council representatives who will oversee your technological progress." Elena's expression remained impassive, though anger flared within her. "We reject your assessment and your authority. Earth is not a child to be supervised. We are equals, or we are nothing to each other." "Equality must be earned," the being replied. "Your species is young, volatile. The display of aggression you now exhibit confirms the Council's judgment." "Aggression?" Elena allowed a cold smile. "We have constructed a trading post and defended our home system from invasion. If that is aggression, what do you call your own actions?" "Necessary intervention. This discussion is concluded." The being made a gesture, and the transmission cut off. "They're targeting our lead vessels," Major Yo reported, his voice tight. "Energy weapons powering up to maximum." Elena nodded to Dr. Patel. "Now, Doctor." Dr. Patel activated the gravity disruptor with a series of commands. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the space between the fleets appeared to ripple, as though reality itself was being distorted. The Council ships fired, brilliant beams of energy that should have torn through the human vessels. Instead, the beams curved and twisted, pulled off course by the artificial gravitational field generated by the disruptor. "It's working!" Dr. Patel exclaimed, her eyes fixed on her readings. "Their weapons can't penetrate the gravity field." Major Yo was already issuing orders to the fleet. "All vessels, execute maneuver Sunburst. Target their propulsion systems only." The human ships moved with unexpected agility, taking advantage of the Council's confusion to position themselves strategically around the larger vessels. Precision strikes disabled engines and maneuvering thrusters, leaving the Council ships effectively immobilized. "Second phase," Elena commanded. Dr. Patel nodded and activated the final stage of their plan, a temporary artificial singularity, colloquially referred to as a black hole trap. The technology, derived from the spacefold drive's principles, created a localized gravitational distortion that enveloped the Council fleet, preventing both movement and communication. "Council flagship is attempting to break free," reported the tactical officer. "They're redirecting all power to their engines." "They can try," Dr. Patel said with quiet confidence. "The singularity will hold for approximately 6 hours, more than enough time for them to reconsider their position." Elena opened the communication channel again. "Council vessel, this is Ambassador Cho. As you can see, humanity is not as developmentally challenged as you believed. We have neutralized your fleet without causing a single casualty. We could destroy your vessels now, but that is not our way." The being's image appeared again, its translucent features clouded with what might have been concern or anger. "What do you want, human?" "The same thing we wanted when we arrived at Ventar Prime: respect and recognition. We will release your fleet unharmed when you agree to meet with us, not as supplicants, but as equals." There was a long pause before the being responded. "The Council does not negotiate under duress." "Then consider it not a negotiation, but an education." Elena's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "You have 6 hours to decide whether your pride is worth more than your fleet." It took less than 3. The Council representative, who identified itself as Nexus Prime, agreed to formal peace talks at a neutral location. The artificial singularity was deactivated, and the Council fleet withdrew to a respectful distance. The negotiations took place aboard the Phoenix, with representatives from both Earth and the Council seated as equals at a circular table, a deliberate symbol of the parity Elena insisted upon. The Council acknowledges that we may have misjudged humanity's advancement. Nexus Prime began, its melodious voice conveying reluctance. Your technological achievements are impressive, particularly the artificial singularity device. Technology is only part of what defines us, Elena responded. What the Council failed to recognize is our dignity, our right to be treated with the same respect afforded to any intelligent species. Respect in the galaxy is often determined by capability. Another Council member, a being composed of what appeared to be living metal, interjected. You have demonstrated yours admirably. If that is the Council's measure, then we have met it, Major Yo stated firmly. But going forward, we expect more than grudging acknowledgement. We demand equal standing. The negotiations continued for days, with each point carefully debated and documented. The Council initially resisted Earth's central demand, full membership with equal voting rights. But Elena remained immovable on this point. Your developmental supervision protocol is hereby rejected, she declared during a particularly tense session. Earth will not accept second-class status in any form. Eventually, the Council conceded. A new agreement was drafted, abolishing the trade barriers and military restrictions that had been imposed on Earth without its knowledge. The Emergency Galactic Peace Alliance was recognized as a legitimate entity, with membership open to any species seeking an alternative to Council dominance. As the final documents were being prepared, Elena found herself alone with Nexus Prime in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. You have achieved something remarkable, the Council representative said, its voice softer than usual. Few species have challenged the Council so directly and succeeded. We didn't want a challenge, Elena replied. We wanted partnership. Sometimes the two are indistinguishable. Nexus Prime's translucent body shimmered in the starlight. The Council has existed for millennia, overseeing the development of countless species. Perhaps we had grown too accustomed to our authority. Elena studied the alien being, noting the subtle shifts in its circulatory patterns that might indicate emotion. Change is difficult for any established power, but it's necessary for growth. Indeed. Nexus Prime turned its multifaceted eyes toward her. One question, if I may. Your artificial singularity. Was it as stable as you claimed? Could you truly have held our fleet for 6 hours? Elena smiled diplomatically. Let's hope we never need to find out. The truth, which only she, Major Yo, and Dr. Patel knew, was that the singularity had been on the verge of collapse when the Council agreed to negotiate. Human technology, while impressive, was still developing. Their victory had been as much about courage and timing as about technological superiority. But that was a secret Earth would keep. In diplomacy, as in poker, one never revealed all one's cards, especially when bluffing. The new era began with the construction of Humanity Station at the former boundary of Council space. Unlike Ventar Prime, with its crystalline elegance, the human station was a blend of functionality and artistic expression, with sections designed to accommodate various species' physiological needs. The station became a hub of cultural and scientific exchange, attracting representatives from both Council worlds and independent species. Trade flourished, unencumbered by the restrictive policies that had previously dominated galactic commerce. 1 year after the confrontation at Jupiter, a commemoration ceremony was held at Humanity Station. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the central chamber, where a monument had been erected to mark Earth's emergence onto the galactic stage. Elena, once again in her diplomatic attire, addressed the assembled delegates. Today, we celebrate not victory, but transformation. A year ago, humanity stood alone, insulted and dismissed. Today, we stand among friends and partners, having helped forge a more equitable galactic community. She gestured to the monument, a sculpture that depicted flames rising from Earth, reaching toward the stars. Inscribed at its base were the words, "We set them ablaze, not with hate, but with the flame of self-respect." This flame represents not destruction, but illumination, Elena continued. It lights the path toward mutual respect and cooperation. It reminds us that dignity is not granted by others. It is inherent in all intelligent life. Nexus Prime, now serving as the liaison between the Council and the Alliance, stepped forward. The Council acknowledges that change was necessary. Through humanity's persistence, we have been reminded that true authority comes not from tradition alone, but from justice and reciprocity. The ceremony concluded with a symbolic gesture, Earth representatives unrolling a red carpet, similar to the one they had glimpsed on Ventar Prime, but this time inviting all delegates to walk it together, with no species given precedence over others. As the celebration continued, Elena found herself approached by Major Yo and Dr. Patel, both of whom had transitioned to new roles in Earth's expanded interstellar initiatives. "Quite a change from a storage closet," Major Yo remarked, surveying the grand chamber with satisfaction. "The universe is full of surprises," Dr. Patel agreed, her scientific curiosity now directed toward collaborative projects with alien researchers. "Though I sometimes miss the simplicity of those early days." Elena smiled at her companions, remembering their journey together. "We've learned that peace isn't merely the absence of conflict, it's the presence of justice. Sometimes, you have to fight for one to achieve the other." Speaking of new challenges," Major Yo said, indicating a view screen that showed an unidentified vessel approaching the station. "We're receiving first contact signals from a species outside both Council and Alliance space." "Have they been briefed on diplomatic protocols?" Elena asked. "They've requested to speak with you specifically," Dr. Patel replied. "Apparently, your reputation has spread beyond our known boundaries." Elena straightened her attire and prepared to greet the newcomers. The journey that had begun with insult and indignation had transformed into something she could never have anticipated. A new galactic order, where Earth stood proud among the stars, its dignity intact, its flame burning bright. As she walked toward the reception area, she reflected on the lesson humanity had taught the cosmos. Respect must be mutual to be meaningful, and those who dismiss the flame of human dignity risk being consumed by its blaze. The new diplomatic party would find no storage closets awaiting them, only the red carpet of equality, rolled out by a species that had learned to value both peace and self-respect in equal measure. And as the unknown vessel docked at Humanity Station, Elena Cho prepared to extend the hand of friendship once more, this time from a position of earned respect, with the flame of humanity lighting the way forward into a shared galactic future.